Right now, you are alone in a room. The phone in your hand is glowing. Outside, millions of people move through their own evenings, behind their own doors, in their own quiet. You have not spoken out loud in hours. This is normal. This is Tuesday. For you, this is just life. But your body does not experience it as normal. Somewhere underneath the silence, there is a low static you have learned to call fine. You scroll past it. You always do. That static has a name. And it is far older than language itself. For 99% of human existence, what you just did, sitting by yourself, in total quiet, for hours, would have been almost impossible, even if you tried. Not because people lacked the desire for solitude. Because solitude, real prolonged solitude, did not exist as an option. For roughly 300,000 years, a human being alone for long stretches of time was a human being in danger. No walls. No locked doors. No room of your own. Just open land, and a body that could not defend itself against what walked in the dark. Imagine that world for a second. The fire never fully goes dark, because someone is always awake near it. The sound of breathing, several people breathing, close enough to touch, fills every single night you sleep through. You are never the only heartbeat in the room. Not once. Not ever, for your entire life. So when that low hum of loneliness rises on an ordinary Tuesday night, you are not malfunctioning. You are running software built for a world that no longer exists. And here is the part almost nobody explains correctly: that ache, the feeling of being unseen, was never an emotional accident. It was an alarm. It evolved for one purpose only: to get you back to other people, fast. The real mystery is not why loneliness feels bad. It is why it feels physical. Why it can sit in your chest like grief, even when nothing has died. To understand that, you have to go back to the only environment your brain was actually built for. It looks nothing like the one you are living in right now. In 1992, Oxford anthropologist Robin Dunbar compared the brain sizes of primates to the size of their social groups. He found a pattern. The bigger the neocortex, relative to body size, the larger and more complex the social group that species could track. When he ran the numbers for humans, one figure kept appearing: roughly 150. That is the rough ceiling of relationships a single human brain can meaningfully hold in mind at once. Researchers now call it Dunbar's number. But the more revealing figure sits below it. In 2011, anthropologist Kim Hill and his colleagues published a study in the journal Science, analyzing the social networks of the Ache and the Hadza, two hunter-gatherer populations in Paraguay and Tanzania. Their daily residential bands typically held 25 to 35 people. Inside that band, nearly every member interacted face-to-face, in person, almost every single day. Think about what that means. For most of human history, you did not choose your daily social contact. It simply happened. You woke up surrounded. You ate surrounded. You slept inside a cluster of bodies, close enough to hear each other breathe. Anthropologist Carol Worthman at Emory University documented sleep patterns across small-scale societies, from the foragers of the Congo Basin to rural communities in Egypt and Nepal. Across nearly all of them, people rarely slept alone. Solitary sleep, the version you likely practice tonight, barely registers as an option in most of the societies she studied. Your nervous system was calibrated inside that cluster. It learned what safety sounds like: footsteps nearby, low voices, the shuffle of someone else turning over in their sleep. Silence, real prolonged silence, was not peaceful. Silence meant the group had moved on without you, or worse, that you had been left behind. This is where the story turns biological. In the early 2000s, neuroscientist John Cacioppo at the University of Chicago spent decades studying what loneliness actually does inside the body. He proposed that loneliness functions exactly like hunger or thirst, a built-in survival signal designed to push behavior in one direction. Hunger says find food. Thirst says find water. Loneliness says find your people, immediately, because alone is how you die. And that signal does not stay abstract. It becomes physical, almost instantly. In 2003, UCLA neuroscientist Naomi Eisenberger placed participants inside an fMRI scanner and had them play a computer game in which they were socially excluded by other players. The brain region that activated was the anterior cingulate cortex, the same region that activates during physical pain. Social rejection, to your brain, did not register as a metaphor. It registered as an injury. Your brain is not being dramatic when isolation hurts. It is using the only alarm system it has ever had, built for an ancestral world where exclusion from the group was, quite literally, a death sentence. But that explains the ache. It does not yet explain why modern loneliness has become something closer to a slow-acting illness. Here is the dark turn. In the early 2010s, geneticist Steve Cole at UCLA began studying what chronic loneliness does at the level of gene expression. His team found something unsettling. In people who reported persistent loneliness, certain genes tied to inflammation became more active. Genes tied to antiviral defense became less active. Cole later named this pattern the conserved transcriptional response to adversity, a biological reflex that treats prolonged isolation as a wound to prepare for, not an illness to fight off. Your immune system still runs this ancient calculation. It cannot tell the difference between being cast out of a Pleistocene band and spending 6 months working from a quiet apartment. To your oldest biology, both situations look the same: undefended, unseen, unsafe. Cacioppo's lab found something else, almost as unsettling, while studying lonely adults overnight in sleep laboratories. Chronically lonely participants experienced significantly more micro-awakenings through the night, brief, unremembered jolts back toward consciousness, as if some old guard system refused to let the body fully power down. Sleep, for the lonely brain, behaves like sleep on watch. Vigilant. Unfinished. In 2015, psychologist Julianne Holt-Lundstad at Brigham Young University combined data from 218 studies, covering more than 3 million people. The result: chronic loneliness and social isolation were linked to roughly a 26 to 29% increase in early mortality risk, a number comparable to obesity. Loneliness is not a mood. For your body, it is closer to an injury that never finishes healing. And the part almost nobody says out loud is this: the modern world did not remove loneliness by accident. It engineered the conditions for it, room by room, one convenience at a time. Step back, and the picture gets larger than any one bad night. Every structure of modern life quietly works against the cluster your nervous system was built inside. Private bedrooms instead of shared sleeping space. Single-occupancy apartments instead of multi-generational homes. In the United States, roughly 8% of households were single-person homes in 1940. By the early 2020s, that figure had climbed past 28%, according to U.S. Census Bureau data. The room you call normal did not exist for most of your species' history. In 2023, the United States Surgeon General released a formal advisory naming loneliness a public health crisis. None of this happened because people stopped wanting connection. It happened because nearly every modern convenience was optimized for efficiency, privacy, and independence, 3 values your ancestors' biology never had to negotiate, because none of those options existed for them. The glowing phone in your hand was supposed to solve this. In some ways, it tries. A message, a video call, a feed full of faces, all of it offers a flicker of the proximity your nervous system is starving for. But a flicker is not a fire. The scroll quiets the craving for a moment. It does not feed it. You were never meant to regulate your own nervous system alone, in a room, for hours, while a screen supplies the only flickers of human voice and face you encounter. That is not a personal failing. It is an evolutionary mismatch, playing out quietly inside your chest at this exact moment. The static you feel some nights is not proof that something is wrong with you. It is proof that something ancient inside you is still working exactly as designed, in a world that no longer matches the instructions. For 300,000 years, no one ever had to teach a human being how to feel this. The body already knew. It still knows. You are not alone in a room because you failed at something. You are alone in a room because the room itself is new, newer than your nervous system has had time to understand. The ache was never the malfunction. The silence was. And somewhere underneath your glowing phone, in the quiet of an ordinary Tuesday, that ancient alarm is still doing the only job it has ever known how to do, trying, in the dark, to bring you back to people who are not there. If you enjoyed this exploration, subscribe for more stories hidden in history, science, and the human condition. And until next time, stay curious.